Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, which is dedicated to property management automation. My name is Svetlin Savov. I'm a project manager at FTS Group and will deliver today's presentation. In case you have any questions arising during the presentation, please write them in the question box, which should be available on your screen. And after the presentation, I'll answer all the questions. Also, please let us know by typing in a message in the questions box if there are any problems with the sound or with the picture, if you can't hear us or you can't see the screen. Okay, so let's go. Let me first of all introduce our company. FTS is an international IT consulting firm with offices in the Netherlands, Bulgaria, Russia, and Ukraine. We have over 20 years of experience in business process automation and have been partners to leading technology companies including Microsoft, Oracle, Deltek, and Files. At present, we serve more than 250 customers in 14 European countries, and a significant share of our customers operate in the real estate industry. You can see here in this real estate box some of our reference customers in this area. In total, more than 3.5 million square meters of real estate are managed by our customers with IT solutions provided by us, provided by FTS. And our today's presentation is dedicated to the property management automation with the help of specified IT solutions. What are the benefits of property management automation? Why should you automate property management processes? First of all, this helps to optimize and increase the revenue from your real estate by helping to increase tenant retention and allowing you to more closely track occupancy rates, renewal of leases, tenant performance, and so on. Second, you can implement a more effective cost control through establishing a budgeting procedure and monitoring and approval of all the costs related to your real estate, including maintenance cost, investment cost, tenant changes cost, and so on. And you can also at the same time decrease the time and effort spent on administration, because most of the workflows and processes they are automated. By implementing a dedicated IT solution for property management, you can minimize your company risk by improving different process controls, procedures, and you can provide transparency of your real estate business and full audit trail of all the changes. And not last, improve decision making by possibility to use automated reports based on key performance indicators. So dedicated IT solution will provide you with easy way to control the key performance indicators of your real estate business. Today we'll talk about one such solution. It's called Maconomy Property Solution, and it's been developed and supplied by our company. This is a dedicated IT solution for real estate and lease management. It is based on a standard ERP platform called Deltek Maconomy by the American company Deltek, and includes a number of functional modules which are specific to the property management business. First, this is the property management, including managing information about our real estate assets, buildings, premises. Then you have the opportunity to manage all the information about your tenants, including all the related documentation such as lease agreements, acceptance acts, letters, and so on. The system also allows you to administer your lease agreement and to keep track of all the related documentation, including the agreements themselves, addendums, acceptance acts, protocols, and so on. One of the key features of the system is the full automation of the property-related invoicing and accounting. It's possible to automatically invoice your tenants based on the lease agreement terms, and also taking into account additional factors such as, for example, tenant turnover, utility costs incurred, and so on. The system also allows you to keep track of your real estate related costs, including maintenance cost, investment cost. You can keep track of your suppliers, enter and allocate costs, compare them with your budget. And namely, there is also a financial and budgeting functionality in the system, which supports multi-company and multi-country and multi-currency accounting, and also gives you the opportunity to establish different financial budgets, such as profit and loss budget, maintenance budgets, and cash flow forecast, and so on. The system comes also with a powerful reporting module, which includes both standard reports, dashboards, and KPI indicators, and also gives you the possibility to create your own custom reports. And basically, in the course of our presentation, we'll briefly show the capabilities of each of these modules of the system. So let's now switch to the system itself. First of all, you should keep track of all your real estate assets. This normally includes buildings, and here we can see a list of the buildings our test company manages. For each building, you can have information card with small or greater number of fields describing this building. In this case, we have information about the building area, address, country of residence. But all these information cards, they can be customized. You can add more and more fields if necessary. Also, for each building, you can keep a list of the premises, all the different rooms, areas in the building. And for each premise, you can have a premise code, which clearly indicates the premise. Also, you can keep information about the premise area in square meters. You can keep information above the contracted area and the actual measured area. You can also assign a category to the premise, for example, whether it's a store, office, restaurant, cafe, storage, whatever. It is also possible to keep track of the accumulated renovation cost, maintenance, and other costs related to this premise. The system here also automatically shows if the premise is vacant by putting a mark in this field. And of course, again, you can customize this premise list by adding additional fields or removing some fields which are not necessary for your specific purposes. There is also a special dashboard built in the system, which allows you to monitor the vacant areas which are available for lease in your different premises. And here is an example of this graphical dashboard. You can see that we have several real estate assets, several buildings in different cities. And here we can see the total area and the vacant available area in each of these buildings. It's also possible to filter this dashboard. For example, let's take a look at Riga. We have quite a large free area there. We can just click there and see that this pertains to a specific building we have in Riga, the so-called Nordic Mall. And here we can see the list of the premises vacant with their space, with the average rent we have used to bill before for these buildings, and so on. In such a way, you can get a quick and clear overview of your vacant areas in different buildings, in different premises. Once you have selected a specific building, you can also go to the floor plan of the building. It can be also visualized in the system. In our case, we have some shopping center, number 1. with several floors. And if we click on some of the floors, we can see the floor plan. Here we have different parameters which are configurable. For example, we can just see the status, see which premises are occupied and which are vacant, available for lease. And here we see that we have quite a few available premises. And also for the premises which are occupied, by hovering the mouse over the premise, you can get instantly additional information about who is the tenant, what is the premise area, and some other configurable data. For example, it could be the end date of the lease agreement, the current amount of rent this tenant pays, and so on. Okay, so let's now take a look at the information about our tenants. Of course, you have entered into the system information about your buildings, about your premises, and you also can keep track of the information about your tenants. There is a tenant register maintained in the system. Here is an example of it. You see the list of tenants. It's possible to filter by any column. And here the search as you type functionality works. If you just start typing in the name of the tenant you are searching for, the list will automatically narrow down. If you double click a specific tenant, you get to the tenant information card with more detailed information about this tenant. Again, this card is configurable. It's possible to add more fields or to remove unnecessary fields. And here normally you have the company details of the tenant, some contact information. You can also have some financial information, for example, what are the payment terms, do you charge interest and reminder charges in case of non-payment. It's also possible to attach an unlimited number of documents to the tenant. There is so-called document archive. For example, we can easily add a new document here, let's say this PDF file. And it's also possible to view these documents by clicking on the document in question. In this way, you have all the information about your tenant in a single place. You have all the tenant details, financial information. Here you can see, for example, also the balance, whether the tenant owes you money, he hasn't paid his invoices. And also you have information about all the documents related to this tenant. The next basic register in the system is the lease agreement register. For one tenant, you can register in the system an unlimited number of lease agreements. They could be, for example, for different premises, for different areas. And you can enter not only lease agreements, but also some other service agreements you provide, you conclude with your tenants. For example, this could be an agreement for marketing services, for security services, telecom services, whatever. But of course, the most important part are the lease agreements, because this is what brings you the biggest part of your income from the premises. And here again, we have a register of these lease agreements. You can filter it by tenant, by premise. If we select a specific lease agreement, we go to the lease agreement file, which consists of several parts. First one, you can see who is the tenant, who is the landlord. Basically, the system allows you to have an unlimited number of landlords. For example, if you have several buildings which belong to different legal entities, different companies, you can enter all these companies in the system and conclude agreement with specific tenant on behalf of a specific legal entity of your group. Here there is also an indication of the building and the premise code, which is subject of this lease agreement. And again, it's possible to attach an unlimited number of documents to this agreement and to easily view them. An important part is the so-called term sheet, where all the substantial terms and conditions of the lease agreement are entered. Again, this term sheet is fully configurable. Conditions can be adjusted to your specific needs, and you can also have a template term sheets. For example, for different types of lease agreements, you can have a different set of terms and conditions, and depending on the type of agreement you have selected, the system will automatically present you with a number of terms and conditions. What is the most important here? Of course, you specify the start date and end date of the lease. You can also enter information about some other key dates, for example, billing start and billing stop date. And you enter information about the different fees which are part of the lease agreements. You can have so-called fixed rent or capital rent. You can specify the amount. You can specify the validity period. It's also possible to enter a step rent. For example, you can have several different amounts of rent which are valid in different periods. It's possible also to specify discounts and the validity period for the rent discount. Again, if the rent is subject to index raise, you can specify what are the terms and conditions for indexation of the rent. It could be a fixed percentage, or it could be a link to some, for example, inflation rate. For example, this would be the consumer price index. There could be also a combined indexation, for example, when you take the consumer price index, but not less than a fixed percentage, and, for example, not greater than another fixed percentage. Again, you can have information about the different other terms and conditions. For example, if you apply turnover rent to this specific premise and tenant, you can enter the conditions for the turnover rent. What is the percentage? What is the breakpoint? The minimum amount should be exceeded in order to calculate turnover rent. You can also enter information about other fees. For example, this could be maintenance or service fee. Again, amount, validity period. If you charge also marketing fee or some other fees, all this can be entered here. And you can also enter information about the different utility costs, how they are handled, and invoice. For example, whether you invoice based on estimation or on the actually measured utility costs. And this could be split into different types of utility costs. For example, electricity, cold water, hot water, heating, and so on. Basically, here you enter all the substantial terms and conditions of the lease agreement, and this information is then used for reporting, and also it is then used for automatic invoicing. So based on the terms and conditions you have entered into the lease agreement in the system will automatically create each month or each quarter, depending on your invoicing frequency, invoice for each tenant and premise with all the necessary fees according to the lease agreement, and all the calculation, including applying of discounts and also index raise. It will take place automatically based on the terms and conditions of the lease agreement. You can have also kind of document workflow here. For example, based on this information you have entered into the lease agreement card, you can produce a document, which could be a lease agreement or commercial terms of lease agreement, which is an addendum, for example, to the full text of the agreement with the tenant. And then this document can be printed out or sent by email to your tenant for review and signing. It's also possible to establish an electronic document approval within the system. For example, if the agreement terms and conditions need to be approved by several persons in your organization, it's possible to do this through the system. You can just submit this electronic agreement file to the relevant persons. They'll get a to-do, a task in the system interface, and also get notification via email, and can review the lease agreement terms and conditions and approve them or return them back for revising. The system also allows you to keep track of not only of the fixed rents and other fixed fees, but also with the variable fees. Quite often, especially when it comes to commercial real estate, retail real estate, you have to keep track of your tenant's turnover, or your tenant sales. The system allows you to register your tenant sales in special journals. This can be done monthly or quarterly, depending on the terms you have agreed upon with your tenants. And here you can enter information per each tenant and agreement and premise. You can enter different figures. For example, this could be sales including VAT, sales excluding VAT. And for each period, you can report the tenant sales in these journals. This information can be entered manually, can be uploaded from an Excel file if your tenant provides you the report in, for example, in Excel or in some other table format. There is also a possibility to give a limited access to the system to your tenants. They'll have just one window where they can enter their turnover figures and submit them to you automatically. Based on the information about tenant turnover, you can not only calculate turnover rent, which is done automatically by the system based on the tenant sales reports you have entered into the system and the terms and conditions specified in the lease agreement, but you can also do different analysis of the tenant turnover. I'll just show an example of a visual dashboard which allows you to analyze the turnover of your tenants. In this case, this is for a specific building, and we can see how the turnover of the tenants has changed over time. Here you can also see information about the so-called footfall, or the number of visitors to the premise. This information can be also uploaded to the system. If you have people counting system installed, information from this system can be uploaded to Maconomy Property Solution and can be used for different reports and analysis, as in this case. So here we can see how the tenant turnover and the number of visitors has changed over time. We can also see what's the total turnover for the current period, what's the total number of visitors. Here we have different ratios. For example, the average bill, the average amount of the cash receipt in our tenants per different tenant categories. We can see the structure of tenant sales in the premises, different types of stores, for example, clothing or restaurants or supermarkets. The system can also calculate different parameters like rent per square meter for the different tenant categories, turnover per square meter, rent to turnover ratio, so you can see what part of the tenant turnover is the rent. And here you can select a specific period, or you can select a specific tenant to see how he has performed for the period in question. For example, what was the turnover and the number of visitors to a specific tenant. So this is an overview of the performance of your commercial real estate and the performance of your tenants in this commercial real estate. Another important part you should take care of is are the utility costs. So again, this information can be registered into the system in special journals, where for each tenant and premise you can enter information about the consumption of water, electricity, gas, heating, and so on. Again, this information can be imported from Excel, or if you have a building management system in place which can provide output file, this file can be uploaded automatically into the Maconomy Property Solution. And this information is used also for analysis, but it's also used for reinvoicing your tenants. For example, if you invoice your tenants based on the actual consumption, the system will automatically reinvoice the utility costs registered. So let's get down to the invoicing. This is one of the most useful features of the system. here is our invoicing register. Of course, you can always create invoices manually by just creating a new invoice, specifying the agreement, the tenant, but the most useful feature of the system is the automatic invoice creation, which allows you to automatically create invoice for the whole building or for all buildings which are under your management in a few clicks. So let's select to create monthly invoices. We are presented with a small dialog window. We can select for which company we invoice. In our case, we have several landlord companies, and we select this one. You can select the period of invoicing. Let's say we'll do this for March. And here you can select specific tenants. If you want to invoice only one tenant or a few tenants, you can also select a specific location, specific building. If you want to invoice only, for example, one building or several buildings, let's take this bookhouse building. Okay, so there are no invoices for this building. So let's take another example. Okay, now the system goes through all the lease agreement, checks the terms and conditions, checks if index rate should be applied or some discount should be applied, and creates one or more invoices. And if we now go to the end of our invoice list, we'll see that the system has created several invoices dated 31st of March for different tenants. We can take a look at a specific invoice. Let's just open it. For example, for this tenant ISCO. And you can see that the system has calculated several different fees. For example, capital rent for two different premises, because this tenant has two different premises under one lease agreement. Maintenance rent also for these two premises, and utilities cold water has also been calculated for these two premises. Here again, you can have a kind of workflow. For example, if these invoices need to be reviewed and approved by someone, this could be done electronically in the system. And you can also print a draft invoice to view the invoice before creating it. And also you can create the invoice itself by pressing this button. There is also a batch creation of invoices. After you have reviewed the invoices, you can, by clicking one button in this section, create in a batch invoices. All the approved invoices, they are shown in a special register. Again, and here, let's take some invoice, for example, this one. Here you have several options. You can print the invoice. A PDF file is produced which can be sent to the printer, or you can attach it to an email message and mail it to your tenant. There is also a batch printing functionality which allows you to print the invoices for the whole building or for all buildings. And there is also batch emailing functionality. For example, you can automatically email the invoices to all the selected tenants, for example, in a specific building or in all buildings. And if you are using some electronic invoicing platform to exchange invoices with your tenants electronically, you can also export the invoices from the system in an XML format, and this XML files can be sent to the electronic invoicing exchange and further forwarded to your tenants in an electronic format. Okay, we have automatically created our invoices. We have issued them to the tenants, and the next step is, of course, to expect the payment. The payments from your tenants. The system allows you to register the payments you receive from your tenants. This can be done in two ways. Of course, you can always do a manual registration using a special payment journal where you can specify the tenant, the amount received, and you can link it to a specific agreement and invoice. But a more interesting feature is the import of payments. For example, if you receive from your bank an electronic bank statement, a file with your bank payments for a specific date, you can just import this into the system. You just have to locate the file. So let's take, for example, this one. And the system will automatically create a new journal and enter to the journal payments from your bank payment file. It will also try to automatically allocate them to the right invoice if the invoice has been specified in the payment. Otherwise, you have to complete manually the invoice to which the payment refers, and lines where the invoice has not been identified, they'll be marked in red so that you can correct them before posting. And then you can post, of course, your payments to the system. Hopefully most of your tenants pay on time, but there are also cases when there are delays in payment, and for such cases in the system you also have interest and reminder calculation functionality, which can automatically show the overdue invoices per tenant and also calculate interest or reminder fees based on the conditions you have agreed upon with the tenant. And based on this information, you can create so-called interest charge notices or reminder letters. They are called differently. You can also issue an invoice for the interest and reminder fees. This is also created automatically. Let me just show you an example of such an invoice. Here it is. So the system automatically inserts into the invoice delay interest, reminder charges. You can issue the invoice to the tenant, and you can also print a reminder letter together with the invoice. Again, it could be printed, emailed automatically, or sent via this electronic exchange platform if you use one. And of course, one of the most important features of any automated system is the possibility to get automatically different reports. So with regards to reports, there are several different standard options in the Maconomy Property Solution. There are high-level graphical reports which are intended to, for example, the top management of the company, and gives you a quick overview of the situation. For example, here we can see a report on our revenues from real estate. We can see how it has changed over time. We can see what's the structure of our revenue by different tenant categories. We can see here, for example, our top tenants by the amount of revenue they bring us. And here you can also see split by different profit centers. In this case, these are our different buildings. You can also filter this report. For example, if we want to see what's the situation with our real estate assets in Tampere, Finland, we can just click here and see what's the revenue, how it has changed, over time, what are our top tenants, what is the percentage of our budget in case we have entered the budget for the revenues in the system, and so on. In the same way, you can select another location, for example, Tallinn, and see what's the situation there. And of course, you have a full overview of the situation in your company as a whole. So these graphical reports or dashboards, they're intended to the top management users and give a quick overview of the situation in a specific area, with the possibility to further drill down into the report and select the data you are particularly interested in. There are more detailed reports which are intended for example, for finance or risk management users. Let's just take a few examples. For example, of course, there's a rent roll report. I have to rise here. So here we can see a rent roll report. In this case, it is by quarter, but it could be also by month or by year, like in this example. There is also a so-called summary of key lease conditions report, which actually shows you your active lease agreements with their current conditions, like payment terms, amount of rents and rent and other fees, and so on. There is also accounts receivable report, which shows what you have invoiced to your tenants, how much they have paid, how much money do they owe you, and for how long they have delayed their payment. These reports, as you can see, they can be accessed not only through the system interface, but also via browser, so they can be accessed remotely, and they are also available on mobile devices. The same holds true for the dashboard reports. They can be accessed not only through the system, but also from a mobile device. And here you can also have different finance reports. For example, you can have an income statement of your properties, cash flow statement, and so on. And the third type of reports available in the system are operating reports, which are intended for day-to-day use and for analysis by people who need to analyze the situation in a specific area. Let's just take a look at a few examples. You have here different template reports. You can select any template and then further modify it. For example, here you can select the columns you want to see in your report. Let's say we need the customer name, and we need, for example, the balance with this customer as of today. And here we can put some selection criteria. For example, let's take a specific country. We are interested especially in Finland, for example. So we have created a small, simple report. We can just run it and see the information that fits our selection criteria. We can see list of customers with their balance. And if we want, for example, to exclude also the zero balances, we can easily do this by adding an additional selection criteria. For example, the balance should be different from zero. And just refresh the report and you get the updated information. And this information can be exported to Excel or PDF. You can save this report as your own template. My Finland customer balances, so you can reuse it again without the need to again select columns and selection criteria. It's also possible to show the result of the report as a pie chart or as a bar chart, and again this can be printed, for example, to PDF. So these reports, they are flexible and they are intended to, for example, financial analysts or managers who need to dig further, deeper into the information in the system. So basically, this was all I have planned for today's presentation. If you have any questions, you can write them in the questions box, which would be visible on your screen, and I'll be happy to answer. All participants will also be provided with access to the presentation demonstrated today, and also to the recording of today's presentation, so that you can review it later if necessary. Okay, I see a question. Does all the conditions of the lease agreement have to be entered manually? Well, here there are several options. For example, you can have templates, different templates for the different types of lease agreement, and when you select a template, part or all of the conditions can be pre-filled in this lease agreement. Another option is also you have the possibility to copy an existing lease agreement. For example, if you just want to renew it or to make agreement similar to existing one but with another tenant or for another premise, you can just copy an existing lease agreement and change the relevant conditions. So there is some functionality which helps you to avoid entering all the conditions manually. But of course, some of the conditions which are specific and not present in the template, they should be, of course, entered manually. And in case you have information about your lease agreements currently in some other system or in Excel, this information can be also uploaded automatically from a table format file. This could be an Excel or CSV or XML. So if you have already a kind of register of your lease agreements with their terms and conditions in a kind of a table, this can be uploaded automatically to the system. You don't have to enter all this manually. Okay, any other questions? Okay, if there are no other questions, then I would like to thank everybody for joining us today. As I mentioned, you'll receive a link to the presentation and the recording. It's also possible, in case you are interested, you can have a kind of free trial of this property management system. Just let us know by answering our email we'll be sending after the presentation, and you'll be provided remote access to a trial version of the system, so you can try for yourself different functionalities of the software. Okay, thank you very much again for joining us today, and have a nice day and a nice weekend.